Welcome to the space where we break down barriers and perceptions about a career in law by talking to the talented people of Gowling WLG. I'm Emma Dennis, Diversity, Inclusion and Wellbeing Senior Manager at Gowling WLG, so join me as we get to dive under the surface and understand the diverse experiences and perspectives of our people, how they've got to where they are and what they wish they'd known. So today we're here with Navin Prabhakar, partner in the firm's banking and finance team, to hear more about his role, how he got to where he is and what it feels like to have a career change. So hi Navin, thank you first of all for being here.
No problem, glad to be here.
So you've been at the firm I think since 2008.
That's right.
And before that I understand you had a quite long career in pharmacy as well as a pharmacist.
Yeah, it wasn't that long, I'm not that old yet. So I've been a pharmacist for around 9 years before I joined the firm as a trainee.
And what was that like? What, just out of interest, what was it? What made you go into pharmacy, and what was that like?
I'd always been pretty good at sciences at school, and I had a bit of an interest in either medicine or pharmacy, and some of the work experience I'd done and people that I knew made me choose a path to go down the pharmacy route, and so I went away and did that at university and graduated, and so I did that for about 9 years, and during that time I sort of started to think about what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So I think it's very difficult actually at 18 to know what you want to do for the rest of your life. It's a really big crossroads, and looking at it now and I look at my own children, I think, would you be in a position to make a decision when you're 18? It's very difficult.
Yeah. Are you glad that you did the pharmacy bit first? When you look back, are you glad with the experience that gave you?
Yeah, definitely, because it gives you a whole different skill set.
Yeah.
So learning to not only the sort of clinical side of the work that you do, but interacting with the public, managing teams, managing trainees as they come to pre-registration pharmacists, as they were called. So you learn a whole bunch of different skills in that, which you can actually transfer to quite a number of jobs, and I think that really did help me when I landed here.
Can you remember what moment led to the change to then go into law?
Yeah, it was meeting my wife, which obviously was great in many ways. So I'd always wanted to do law conversion. I'd always had this interest in perhaps going down the medical negligence route and specialising in that. And you know what it's like when you sort of leave university, you start to clear a few of your debts and you're earning an income, and you think, well, I don't want to go back to studying. So it kind of fell away. And then I met my now wife, and she was a trainee lawyer, and she was finishing her training, and it sort of reignited it.
Yeah.
And I sort of had lots of discussions with her, and she was like, it's very hard to get a training contract, and you know, it's not easy. So the stubborn character in me wanted to prove her wrong. So I went and I decided, actually made the final decision on honeymoon, which obviously went down really well, that I was going to change career, and so came back, and in the September started the graduate diploma in law off my own back. And by April or the following year I was lucky enough to have secured a vocational placement here at what was at Rags. And then from that, on that vocational scheme, I secured a training contract. So I know that's quite a rapid process, and actually, looking back at it now, very, very lucky to have done it so quickly. Yeah. And quite fortunate to have secured that. So when I look at it now, it's not as straightforward.
Was it a scary moment to make that decision that you were going to change?
Yeah, it definitely was. You're giving up security, aren't you? You've got secure income, you're looking forward to building your life, and then suddenly you throw a massive curveball in there and say, I'm actually going to go back to studying, and so then yes, you take a step down, if you want to see it like that, in terms of income and trying to keep a house running and all that kind of stuff together. So then you rely on each other to support you through that. And so it was a big decision. It was scary, but it was one that I knew was right from the outset.
And then you mentioned you trained here at the firm back when it was Rag & Co. What was that like, the process then of sort of starting your training contract in that period of time?
Yeah, it took a little bit of adjustment, going from working in sort of, last 2 years I was working for Boots. I was working in their head office on projects, and then suddenly coming into a completely different field, different hours, different pressures, and my cohort were obviously younger than me by 5-6 years at least.
Yeah.
So it was working and training with a bunch of other people, which was fine because I'm very adaptable and get on with people pretty quickly. So it's like anything, isn't it? When you go into something new, it's always going to be a little bit daunting to start with, but you can see very quickly the good people around you and the kind of culture, and I know that's a cliched word, but you could just see the working environment made that so much easier.
Did you know when you got to the end of your training contract that you wanted to go into the banking and finance team?
Well, that's a good question. So I was in a real dilemma when I came to the end of the way my training contract sort of panned out wasn't quite as I had sort of hoped in terms of the seats that I did, and that's going to be the same for a lot of trainees. Yeah. But I really wanted to do an IP seat, and that was going to be my third seat. So I started doing that seat, and about 5-6 weeks into it, I got sent on secondment to Deutsche Bank. So it was back into the sort of banking. But I enjoyed all of my seats, and I really enjoyed my real estate seat as well. And in fact, I accepted a job in real estate upon qualification. Went away on holiday, and it was a really difficult decision between banking and real estate. I went away on holiday, and I think it was the sort of timescales and pressure of making that decision. And I went away and reflected, and on reflection, I sort of felt as if I hadn't made the right decision for me. Yeah. So I came back, and thankfully the banking job was still available, and I had to go to the real estate partner to explain my change of heart. Yeah, which I wasn't looking forward to that conversation, but actually the partner he was really good. He said, look, the main thing is you're staying at the firm, and actually, that's a really good attitude and approach, and I really appreciated that response.
Yeah. And when you qualified as a lawyer, was partnership always the goal?
Yeah, I think it's always at the back of the mind, isn't it? I think though it's something that it's always there as a sort of ultimate sort of, that's where you want to get to. Well, that's where I might want to get to, but it wasn't at the early stage. It wasn't be all and end all. It's something I think you've just got to take each month, each year, each experience, and learn from it and build from there. And I think if you try and set yourself a goal of trying to hit that by a certain date, I'm not sure that's the right approach. So it was something that was certainly there and part of the thinking, but it wasn't an all-out right from the start. Yeah.
And what were your, I guess as you moved through your career and sort of partnership became within reach, that you were getting closer to that, what were your perceptions of what partnership was going to be like?
You always know it's going to be hard work, but then everything in life is. Yeah. So it will be a different way of working. Were my perceptions what I thought then? Are they reality now to some extent? Yes. You have to wear a number of different hats. You have to spin a number of plates, and your role clearly changes, and responsibility and accountability changes. So I knew all of that was coming. Yeah. There's always going to be lots of stuff that you don't know, and that just kind of hits your desk and hits your inbox. Yeah. And so yeah, it wasn't wildly different to what it actually is.
Good. And I guess what's your favourite bit about partnership? I mean, you were promoted back in 2020 to partner. Yeah. What's been sort of your favourite bit so far, sort of 3 years in?
It's having it's being able to get out to clients more. Yeah. And it does make winning work easier. I think the nature of what we do in banking has always been something that means that you work with different parts of the firm in terms of the disciplines, because there's lots of different areas of disciplines that come into your work. But I think that the best thing for me though has been actually being able to go out and meet partners in different teams, which probably through my own doing meant I wasn't doing that as much necessarily in the earlier years, but it just opens up, you know, that opportunity to go and meet other teams, meet other partners, and actually learn about their parts of the business.
We'll take a short break now, and when we're back, we'll find out more about Navin's career and what advice he'd give those at the start of theirs. Welcome back to part 2. We're going to kick off with some quick fire questions. Where did you grow up?
Born and bred in Coventry.
Lovely. What time do you usually wake up in the morning?
About 6 a.m.
Wow, early.
Yeah.
Early one. Is your bed made right now?
Yes.
Everybody's bed is
I've been
made.
trained. If you'd asked me about 17, 18 years ago, I would have said maybe not.
My aim for this podcast series is to find somebody whose bed is not made when I ask them that question. What's your favourite breakfast?
Scrambled eggs.
Oh, I like scrambled
eggs on toast.
Yeah, good choice. Favourite movie?
Godfather 2.
Favourite season?
Summer.
Yeah. Dream holiday destination?
The Caribbean.
Everybody's going for definitely either Caribbean or somewhere tropical, beachy.
Yeah, I've done Mexico, but not like sort of Barbados or Jamaica.
Barbados would be nice.
That'd be amazing. St. Lucia.
And then we've got some versus questions, so either or questions.
Oh, go on then.
Would you rather fly or have super strength?
Fly.
Are you more of an introvert or an extrovert?
Introvert.
Night out or a night in?
I think a night out.
Yep. And do you learn by watching or learn by doing?
More watching. Okay, let's go watching.
So before we took a break, we were talking about partnership, and I just wondered, now that you are a partner, what do you think makes a good partner?
I think somebody who listens, not only to, you have to clearly listen to your clients, but listen to your team, listen to others around you. So I think having that sort of open mind and willingness to listen.
Yeah. And I know we often talk at the firm about people sort of developing that pipeline of future talent and to develop people through to partnership. What would you say to anybody who was sort of earlier in their careers at the moment and was looking at partnership and was unsure about whether that was what they wanted?
I would say don't rule it out and give yourself time. I think a lot of people nowadays are in a rush to get somewhere.
Yeah.
And I think you're a long time working, so take that time to build up your skills, build up your knowledge, learn from people, go and speak to people, and build that picture up slowly. You don't have to make a rash decision.
Yeah.
You know, take your time, make a measured decision.
Yeah. And I guess you've probably mentioned a couple of things there about things people could be thinking about throughout their careers that sort of puts them into a good place.
Yeah.
To get to partnership. Is there anything else people could be focusing on from sort of an earlier stage?
I think, well, your technical knowledge has to be a given, so just get that under your belt. Yeah, first. Don't let the rush to get promoted and push on overtake their sort of core skills. Yeah. And just be prepared to get stuck in.
Yeah. And what advice would you give anybody that was thinking about a career change at the moment? If they were thinking about, I'm going to do a complete change and go into law.
Yeah.
What advice can you give them? What did you learn?
I would say have an open mind about it, okay? Because when people tell you what's good and bad about things, you know, that's from their experience. Speak to as many people as possible to get a general consensus of what they're all thinking. don't be afraid to change career. Don't be afraid to make a change, because, like I said, your working life is typically quite a long life, and if you think you've made the wrong choice early on, there's a long time to put it right. And I think that goes for people who are sort of sitting A levels, getting A level results. Appreciate at the time, if they don't quite get the results that they want, that it can feel like the end of the world. But there's so much time to sort of either think of a different avenue or put things right. So not to sort of stress out and panic if things don't happen in the first year, the second year, the third year. There's a long time to get things right.
Yeah. And what does a typical day look like for you at work now? Is there a typical day?
I'm not sure there is a typical day. It's I think that one thing I've noticed over the years clearly is managing email traffic is for everyone, not just partners, but everyone. There's a lot. Yeah. There's a lot. So I think I like to get on top of my work day. I'd like to get on top of my emails, deal with anything urgent first, get on top of my emails, plan out the different work streams that you're working on, catching up with the team. That's really important, rather than just sort of getting your head down and motoring on. Is speaking to each of the guys that you're working with, get an update, see how they are, not just about the work stream, but just see how they are.
Yeah.
And that's the one big thing about coming into the office, is just catching up with people and spending that quality time with them. Not necessarily just talk about work, but to talk about what's going on in their lives as well.
You mentioned you've got children. Is it?
Yes.
How many children
2.
have you got? 2. How old are they?
14 and 12.
How do you balance the demands of partnership and your job with responsibilities outside of work and your family?
Yeah, it's always a challenge. I think right from the outset, actually, because we had our daughter when I was in my first seat as a trainee.
Wow.
So yeah, it's about getting that balance right. How do we manage it? And I think that a mixture of two things. I think one is, as you as you get a bit more experience, how you can manage your workload and when you can do certain things. I think clients and people in general, particularly because since COVID, people have understood that actually there is that sort of balance to be had, and I think people are a bit more relaxed. As long as work gets done, that has to be a given.
Yeah.
But I think people are a bit more relaxed. So if you turned around and said to somebody, actually, I need to take my son to football practice tonight, as long as there's not a completion or something crazy urgent, then people generally accept that. I will, wherever possible, make sure on a Thursday evening I'm available for my son to take him to football training, and then weekends is all about them.
Yeah.
So how do I manage that? As I've got older, like anything, it gets easier, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Well, they have different challenges, but I think it's knowing when you can prioritise things, and when you should.
Yeah.
Outside of work.
Yeah, you're right. Logistically, it feels like it gets easier as they get older, because they're more self-sufficient, but then you've got all the other, it feels like emotional stuff that comes with age.
Yesterday, someone said to me, Daddy, on Thursday, you're okay to drop me off in town? I was 12 years old. I'm like, I'll just plan my whole work day around. And my daughter's like, Dad, I need dropping off in Leamington on Friday.
You just turn into a taxi service the older exactly they get. You're a taxi in a hotel.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah. But the good thing is that you can plan around that.
Yeah.
And I think it comes back to the point about how do you balance that. You can do it.
Yeah, and I do. I think COVID, the positive of that is that flexibility has increased, and everybody's sort of on that page of, we know we can be more flexible to fit those things in. I'm jumping around a little bit here, but what advice would you give anyone who's at the start of their legal career at the moment?
I think get stuck into transactions or deals or whatever it is that you're working on, cases. Try and read around whatever it is, the topic that you're working on. Try and be proactive in trying to learn things yourself. Yes, you'll have training sessions and learning by listening to other people, and that's a really powerful thing, actually, listening to other people and learning by osmosis. But I think it's trying to read around something. If you've got a matter that's coming up, try and look into it in advance, or if there's something that you come across and you need to go back and look at it, just fill in your knowledge gaps.
Yeah.
and you'll find that your confidence builds once you get that, because you'll know for next time. And once you know for next time, you'll then learn something a little bit wider off the subject, which will just supplement your knowledge. So all I would say is just take every opportunity to learn, get involved in transactions, deals, cases, and learn as much as you can.
And looking back over your career so far,
Mm-hmm.
are there any really memorable deals or transactions or work that you've been a part of that sort of sticks in your head?
Good or bad?
Either. One of each.
We've worked on some really really big deals, some sort of market leading deals. So working with Sanctuary on it was the first investment by the European Investment Bank into that sector.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked on that deal with a partner at the time. So that was new.
Yeah.
We've done lots of sort of deals with sort of private equity houses. You know, some of their biggest deals, the ones that have won sort of awards at Deal Makers, the Deal of the Year, that type of stuff. That's really really rewarding. The hardest, trickiest deal we worked on was a deal that was it's probably about 6 years ago. It was required for about 6 weekends on the trot, being in all the way through Friday night, all the way through Saturday night.
Wow.
It was the most horrendous deal ever, and it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. So I won't name the client.
No. And how do you, when it's things like that, because I know with the type of work you do, there are times when it's sort of full on like that.
Yeah. How
do you get through those periods? Or is it when you get to the end of that, there's a sort of moment?
Yeah, at the end of it there is that, and there's always the sort of, whenever you close a deal, you know, the clients are going off and they're on a high because their deal, their transaction is completed, and it's a bit like, and it's like a bit of a, feels like a bit of a downer actually, because the lawyers are left with all the post-completion stuff to do, and it's like, right, we're done now. Yeah, it's just like, it is a bit like that. How do you get yourself through it? I think you have to keep yourself motivated, focused. Yeah. Remind yourself of the end target. You know, otherwise you get lost in the middle of a transaction, and remind yourself what you're working towards, and it's working together with the team. That deal I wasn't working on, there was the 3 or 4 of us are doing it, and it's just pulling together as a team. Yeah. Getting through it. People that help, isn't it? I think when you've 100%. Got good people around you and you're all sort of supporting each other. And then I just had one final question for you, and it was, what is the best thing that's happened to you over the last week? It can be work, it can be out of work. We took the decision to buy a dog. Yeah. Yeah, I'm quite looking forward to that. That is an exciting thing. Yeah. That's definitely good. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So thank you for being here today. It's been really good to sort of hear some of your story. We'll be back next week to get to know more of our talented people here at Gowling WLG. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful week, and remember, we all have the power to make a difference.